Welcome, everybody, to this brand new podcast, the premiere episode, Top of the Key with Sota and Faythe. I am your host, Sota, also known as Ryan Youngstrand, with my wonderful cousin over here, Faythe Youngstrand, all the way up in, let's see, are you in Canada? Are you Wisconsin, Minnesota? Where are you at?
I am from nowhere, actually, the middle of nowhere. A bunch of trees. I am in a little town in like Nemegma, Wisconsin, with only 1,000 people.
Oh, wow. Okay, so tight-knit community?
Yep. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
everyone knows everyone.
Yep, which can be good, can be bad, because everybody knows each other's business, and
Oh yeah.
sometimes that's a little bit iffy. But
Oh,
I will say, just as we were getting ready, I just noticed maybe a little snowflake or two kind of coming back in.
It's about to come down. It's in the 30s right now. It's getting down to the 20s, which I love. I'm obsessed. I'm excited. Yep.
Okay. So what do you love about the cold? Because here I'm sitting in 70, sunny too, just peak of fall, Tennessee, and I'm like, man, 30 sounds terrible. So what is it that brings you joy with that cold and that snow?
Snowboarding.
Snowboarding.
Yep.
Nice. So you're out there, you're ripping the snow.
Yep.
Okay. When was the last time that you snowboarded?
Last winter, but it sucked though because we had like barely any snow. So it was all just pre-made snow, which ended up with me in the hospital breaking my middle finger down.
Oh, okay. All right. That's always fun. You got to have some wounds and some war stories. Let me tell you, the last time that I went snowboarding, I was not made and put on this earth to snowboard. And so our family, your father, my father, they were more skiers back in the day.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I never really had it in my genes to go out there and snowboard. So I tried it one time, Faythe. We're talking about 15 years ago.
Oh
The
boy.
first time I put a snowboard on, I went down the little bunny hill. And you know what happened to me? I thought I was really cool. I stood up and I'm like, I'm going on the bunny hill. These little 5-year-old kids ain't got nothing on me.
Yeah.
I went and twisted, completely tore my knee. Just absolutely tore it up. MCL, PCL, all the L's, all the CLs, ripped, shredded.
Ow.
Didn't shred any more snow that day, just shredded my knee. And so from that day on, A, now I walk with a limp, and B, I am way too nervous and scared to try it again because I got a lot of weight going, and when you make a turn and you're on that, the aerodynamics just don't work out very well for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see here. You're a snowboarder. We're on this podcast today, the top of the key. So we're kind of alluding to a little bit of basketball presence. And just to let the world know, we're going to be talking some good WNBA basketball. We're going to be talking some good Lynx basketball, just basketball in general. You got two bucket heads here who are just absolutely looking to live, breathe, eat, talk sports, whenever we get the chance.
Yeah.
And specifically, we like running down the WNBA, the women's action, because I don't know about you, Faythe, but WNBA is on the come up, but people need to put some respect on the WNBA and the players that we have. Yeah, it's been really cool to see somebody like me, who I have followed the WNBA since its inception in the late 90s, to see how far it's progressed. And then we're sitting on here together with somebody such as yourself, who you weren't quite around. You weren't even born when that WNBA came around, if I'm not mistaken, but you have become an avid fan over the years. And so I did want to, talk about, you said that you love snowboarding, and that's really fun. Now, I do remember when I played basketball growing up, I always had a coach that said, do not go out and go skiing or snowboarding, because that's right during our basketball season. So did you ever have any pushback with your coaches on that, or what did that look like?
Lucky for me, I was not good at snowboarding when I was young. I'm that. Look, all right, basketball, snowboarding. Let's do the one that I'm good at first, and then we'll go to snowboarding. So that was a big issue. I think when I turned like 15, that's when I got it more into snowboarding.
Got you. Okay. And, everything you started your limbs. You kind of understood what they were doing when you were moving, and
Yep.
the hand-eye coordination started probably picking up.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so let's get to the A topic here, which is we're talking basketball. We're talking our love of the game. Okay, because we can't get going talking about these Lynx and Liberty and some of these players in WNBA if the people listening to us don't understand where we come from and our passion for the sport itself. Uh, Here we have with Sota and you, we have two people that, again, we could talk basketball all day, every day. So I want to know, Faith, how did your passion for basketball develop, and like, where did it come from?
Okay, so growing up, I played basketball from a very young age, competitively. And growing up, I've always like played to play, not like very locked in, like, okay, I gotta take it serious. I'm like, I'm just playing for fun at this point. And then when it started getting to like when I turned up 10 or 11, my mom would tell me stories about her coaching. And I would like look at my brothers or my sister because they also played and they would tell me how much they love basketball and all this. I'm like, okay, see, I want to do that. I want to be like the best player on my team. So
Right.
10 or 11, I got very serious into basketball and took it like very, very serious. That's all I did was eat, sleep, basketball. And then I think when I turned 13, that's when I was like, okay, this is something I want to do for like my life.
Yeah.
And I remember one day walking, it was, when was it? I think I was 14. This is when things started going more like uphill, wise, because we
Yeah.
started getting very competitive, very, very competitive. Like, and we started playing championship games and everything. And then when I hit 15, that's when my life kind of went downhill.
Okay.
Because it was 2 days before our championship game. And I had this coach that's been coaching me for 4 years.
Okay.
And I remember going in, it was practice. And then he's like, hey, can I pull you aside for a minute? I'm like, yeah, of course. Am I in trouble? Because you don't know what's going in my
Right. You
brain.
never know. Yeah. What did I screw up? Did I not get that pick at the top of the key?
Yeah.
That wouldn't happen.
He pulled me aside. We sat down. He said, hey, you have been doing amazing. And I want to tell you this as your coach, I see you going far.
Wow.
And I sat there and I'm like, I'm not in trouble. Thank you. You know, this means a lot. He's like, you got the potential. You can go beyond. I was like, thank you. And I remember the next day we had the game. Not the championship game, but the game to decide if we go.
Yep.
And of course, hearing the words like, oh, you can go far, I got a little cocky.
Okay.
I decided to be like, not a mean player on the court, but definitely more of a like, hey, I think I'm kind of better than you kind of vibe.
Right. You're
I
gonna
was,
flex on some fools.
yep, I was definitely started a few like, not like fights, but like verbal fights. I remember
Yeah.
one day I got into this fight with this girl, like bumping her a lot, getting fouled a lot. And I was going up to do a layup, and that's when everything changed. I went to do a layup, my foot got caught in hers, and her elbow hit me right in the chest and ruptured something.
Mm.
And I remember not being able to breathe as well as I used to. So I
Okay.
remember having to sit out and then going from the end of the game. We won.
Okay.
So we made it to
Cool.
the championship. But I remember after that game, I had to go to the doctors right away because
Sure.
something wasn't right. I go there, get a few x rays, find out that I ruptured something. And it ended up causing my basketball career, which I couldn't play basketball anymore. And that was very, very rough coming from a doctor saying, hey, something that you love, you have to stop.
You gotta take it away.
Because my breathing wasn't normal anymore. I mean, I still have trouble breathing. Like, I could walk from this desk all the way to the door and lose breath.
Mm.
And I remember the day of the championship game, I'm like, all right, if I can't play anymore, I'm going to go out with a bang.
I
So
love it. I love it.
I remember going to my coach, telling him everything. I'm like, hey, look, I know I can't play the whole minutes, but can I play a little bit? He said, of course. And that was the game where I made about 13 to 14 points, and we won.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So, man, there's a lot to unpack with that, Faith. I appreciate you sharing that with all of us so we can got to have a little bit better understanding of your brain when it comes to, how you look at the game, your passion for it. So that's really cool. But a couple, I guess, questions to follow up on that. So, one thing I want to get to with that was maybe the mindset shift that you experienced going from kind of flexing on people, doing like the toss me the ball, pass to the run, to, okay, I can't necessarily take over this game like I used to be able to.
Yep.
I have to almost find my role in it.
Yep.
So you had alluded to a coach
Mhm.
that was super big for you. Was this somebody who helped you kind of make that switch where he was like, was able to instill in you, okay, I can't dominate the game for a full 40 minutes,
Yep.
but those 15 to 20 minutes that I'm in there, let me be the best player that I can be. Was that him helping? How did you make that shift? You know what I'm saying?
Yep. So with my coach, he's always been very understandable. Very understandable. Like if you had a bad day, he'll do anything for you. Like make sure you're okay. And I remember telling him this stuff. He's like, "Okay, what do you want to do? Like,
Mhm.
because I know this is a big part of you, but I don't want you to push it, and I know you can't play anymore." And I said to him, like, "Honestly, sir, if I can't play anymore, I want to make one more game last, even if it's for a little bit. Like,
Yeah.
this is gonna suck, but I want to make. I would just want to go out with the bang, even if it's
Make
for
some
like
memories.
5 minutes or 10
Yeah.
minutes. I just
Ooh,
want
I
to do
love
it."
that.
So he let me do it. My whole team was so supportive. After we won, we all went out to eat, and then he gave me a hug and he said, "Thanks for the great 4 years, and I wish you well on your journey, and I hope you get better." It's like,
Wow.
yeah.
I got the chills right there because is anybody maybe listening to the show or has played basketball before, it's really hard to be the best player on the court.
Yep.
And for many factors, A, it's really hard to get that good. And
Mhm.
then also B, it's hard to know that you're the best. And then
Yep.
also carry yourself in a way in a team sport that allows you to have success as well as your teammates.
Yep.
The one thing that sticks out to me when you're talking about your story and your adventure right there is how your had to go, or mindset had to shift to go from you're the star player and
Yeah.
you were somebody who, hey, yeah, it's crunch time. Give Faith the ball. Let's see what
Yeah.
we'll live or die by what she makes the shot or not. But
Yep.
in Faith we trust. To being just a rock solid role player where you came in on that last game in the
Mhm.
championship game, you knew that you weren't going to be the stud, but
Mhm.
you wanted to contribute. You still put up 13, 14 points, which tells me you made, 5, 6, 7 shots. Uh, And it sounds like you became maybe more of kind of a role player as opposed to the star, right? And that shift. And so
Yep.
that it kind of gets me excited thinking about the Minnesota Lynx. Just because if we're tying those two together, somebody
Mm.
who has watched them, we see the Lynx versus the Liberty going on in the finals right now, and we'll get more to that. It tells me that um, that's the true DNA of a champion, knowing that you could be the best, but also sometimes you have to defer to your teammates in order for the team to get to where it needs to go, right?
Yep. Yep.
So, I did just want speaking of the Lynx, I know that you're a big fan,
I
and
know.
I would like, for the people listening out here to
Mhm.
kind of understand who was it that kinda got you into the Lynx, and how did your passion for that team kinda get to where it is now?
So, my whole family loves basketball. I remember my mom, she kind of got into the Lynx the same time I did. I just remember laying in bed one day and I just looked up Minnesota teams because at the time I wasn't aware that we had a women's team. So I'm just gonna Google it real quick and I saw the
Yeah.
Lynx and I'm like, oh shoot, like we have a team. Like I need to get on top of this, because
Yeah.
basketball's my life. I gotta be on top of this. So, it's like a kid on Christmas morning. I ran to my mom. I'm like, "Mom, we have a women's basketball team." She's like, "I know." I'm like, "How come you never told me?" Like, we could be like hyping this team up, you know?
Yes.
And growing up watching that, loved it. Ever since Cheryl Reeve came into the picture, we've been doing amazing.
Amazing.
Yep, and I think that's kind of where I came into it, and then I love watching Bridget Carlton or Nafessa Collier.
Yep.
I love them, and I just ever since then, I've always been, like, a part of it.
So Carlton, good shooter, right? That's
Yep,
somebody who Bridget Carlton is somebody out there where the Lynx have a couple studs on their team, i.e. Collier,
yep,
Courtney Williams, some players who can
yep,
distribute.
yep,
And you need players like Bridget Carlton, who's going to be able to knock down that three
yep.
and really keep that defense honest. And so, and then with Collier, that anytime I hear her name and I get a chance to speak to her greatness, I like to take that chance.
Oh,
Because
exactly.
there are even going to be people watching this show today who have no idea who Nafisa Collier is, and
So
they need to know.
oh,
You know what I'm saying? Like, here, welcome to the party. We're about to
yep,
let you know that
yep,
Collier is somebody who she is not a huge personality. So in the WNBA landscape, if you're not a big personality, a la Angel Reese, maybe a Caitlin Clark,
yep,
Dawn Staley when she was in the league, Teresa Witherspoon when she was in
yep.
the league, Rebecca Lobo, Diana Taurasi. These are people who they had a little bit of that gusto to where even if you didn't know much about the WNBA, maybe you had heard about them.
Yep.
Nafisa Collier doesn't have that, but she is just as good, if not better than dang near all of those players I just listed.
Oh, exactly.
You were telling me before the show, if I'm not mistaken, she won Defensive Player of the Year this year.
Yep.
Um,
The MVP at the Commissioner's Cup when they won that too.
that's right. She won the MVP of the Commissioner's Cup. I think she was second in overall league MVP behind Asia Wilson.
Yep, yep.
Asia Wilson, I have much love and appreciation for her. I was on
Yeah.
University of South Carolina Gamecock campus. Well,
Mm,
Asia Wilson attended and won championships there. And so, she was a big deal. And that's when I really started to understand who she was. This year, she actually can't remember if it was a record or not, but I think she became the first ever unanimous MVP
yeah, I believe
this year.
so. Yeah.
She had 67. I think she had all 67 voters, and second was Collier. And
Yep.
it's not like Collier was just not good enough to be getting any votes. It's just
Mm,
that's how good Asia is. She is
hard to compete.
she is absolutely dominant. So speaking of dominance in the NBA, though, we have not talked yet about the Lynx and their big challenge that they have ahead of us. So we got Minnesota Lynx, New York Liberty.
Yep.
Small market in Minnesota versus biggest market you can have in New York.
Yep.
You have super team coming together with Brianna Stewart and the likes of Sabrina Lonescu from University of Oregon
Mm,
against more of a team mentality who the most known person with the Minnesota Lynx franchise is probably not Collier. It's probably our head coach, Cheryl Reeve.
Yep.
Given that she's not only a champion in the WNBA, but also an Olympic champion. And
Yep.
so we got to give props to Cheryl Reeve and
Oh,
just what she's
100%.
done for the sport. But with all this Lynx bias that we got going on, Faith,
Yeah.
can you give us a little bit on this super team that is supercharged and super talented in
Yep.
the New York Liberty? Yeah. What are a couple things to kind of look out for game 2 tonight?
Okay, so obviously it's gonna be a very nail biter, just like the first game. Very
Yep.
like back to back tied scores. I feel like one thing that they should look out for is definitely their defense. They do well. It's just the first game, the first 2 quarters, their defense was not the best. They were behind by a big chunk, and they are the number one defense we've heard, and they've got it. They just gotta work on it a little bit more. And then definitely communication's definitely one of them. I feel like that's one thing we also kind of have to look out for because sometimes we can get a little cocky if we're like, you know how we are. Like, if we have
Yep.
like a big chunk of a lead, we get cocky and we kind of mess up a little bit. We stop communicating. We stop, like, just being a team.
Yep.
The other thing is taking shots that you shouldn't be taking. I've seen a few things happen with Courtney Williams. I'm not saying that she does it a lot. I'm just saying some things she just gets a little too excited about and thinks she's just all that.
Yep. I definitely noticed that with Courtney Williams. She's had a couple really big games in these playoffs.
Yep.
But if you are somebody such as yourself, I know your mom is somebody who follows Courtney Williams as well.
Yep.
Love-hate relationship.
Yep.
And I think that I love how I remember the first time I asked your mom about this, she explained it really well, where there are sometimes when Courtney Williams is like the freaking coolest player on the court.
Yep.
She's giving in to her teammates. She's a mighty mite. She's kind of small out there, but she'll give you her heart, her hustle.
Yep.
And it's really fun to watch. Then there are some times where it's like, man, that ego maybe gets a little bit in the way. And it's like, she's just throwing up a shot, heat check, and it's like, maybe we don't necessarily need that right now.
Yep.
Or maybe we don't need the fancy behind the back pass in that moment.
Yeah.
But I think with her, especially if the Lynx are able to complete this and maybe get a championship with Courtney Williams, I think that's one of those where you got to take the bad with the good.
Yep.
Because she brings enough good to where she's very, very valuable. Just leading the team. She can play the lead guard. She can play off guard. She can defend like a dog. She's a dog out there. And so you love having players like that on your team, but just as long as, the bad doesn't necessarily outweigh the good. And also we end up losing the series because some bonehead plays. You can have a bonehead play here or there, but just as long as you are, continuing to be like, as long as Courtney continues being who she is and doesn't let the kind of bonehead behind the back pass take too much of a play, I think we're going to be fine.
Yep.
She's got Sabrina Loneskew on her. Where are you at with Sabrina? Have you been following her for a little bit?
No. Not really. One of my closest friends is a huge fan of New York Liberty, and I think she's introduced me to Sabrina a little bit. I've never followed her, but I will say that me and my friend kind of get into it a little bit if it comes to, especially in the finals right now, where you've been butting heads a little bit.
Yeah.
But she's definitely introduced me. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So I was going to say Sabrina is somebody that has been kind of near and dear to me as I've been following the WNBA. She is, I think this is her third year, I want to say, or she was picked in 2020. So let's see, this is her fourth year. She went to University of Oregon. I am a big University of Oregon fan, all things sports. I've been following them since about 2000. So when she came through, she was putting up triple doubles at University of Oregon. She made a big name for herself. She was working. She did a lot of work with Kobe, RIP, before he had passed away. And that was a really big relationship in her life. And you can tell just by how she plays the game. She is a superstar with a dog mentality. That is Kobe to a T.
Yeah.
And so it's really fun to see her ascend into greatness because those have been watching her for a few years now, saw this greatness coming. Now, her teammate, though, as great as Sabrina is, Breanna Stewart is maybe that much better.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
And that's saying something because I am telling you, I could go on for days about how talented Sabrina is in all facets of the game. Breanna, though, and her ability to score the ball, to be a team leader, to be a champion, it is second to none. I believe that she is somebody who will go down as one of the greatest players in WNBA history for sure.
Yep.
And so she's in the prime of her career right now, right?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And stopping her is a team effort. That's where we're going to need, Collier and the rest of the players. Carlton is going to have to step up and instead of just shooting threes, which is great, she's also going to have to give a little bit of help on Stewie.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. Carlton, speaking of Carlton, she she's got so much potential. I love watching her. Huge fan of her, actually. One of my greatest players. And she can do threes. I've seen it, but I think she's gotten so much into her head to the point where she keeps missing them a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I get what it's like to be in your head a lot. Like, hey, like, what if we can't make this? Then you overthink it, then you get anxiety, and then it just doesn't go out well.
Yep.
And it's just like, maybe if you're not too comfortable, don't always go for a three.
Yep.
Twos are good, layups, like whatever's easiest. Maybe just don't push yourself as
Take what you can
you
get.
know what I'm saying.
Yep. Yep. So basically, you take what the defense gives you,
Yep.
and then you with that, some of the best things that I've seen is you take what the defense gives you,
Mhm.
and then you slowly but surely try to set something up for later. So you take what the defense gives you. If that means setting a high pick and roll screen at the top of the key, just like our show is called. If you're setting that over and over and over, and their big is crashing on the shooter every single time.
Mhm.
Okay, maybe you let that happen a couple, 2, 3 times in a row. And then
Yep.
in that fourth quarter, now all of a sudden you send a cutter right behind that big. And then,
Yep.
you have Courtney Williams, who has her beautiful vision, can get right.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you got, 2 points in a very exciting way, and momentum shifts. You see what I'm
Yep.
saying?
I see what you're saying. 100%. Yeah.
And so I think Cheryl Reeve does a really good job at setting
Mm.
teams up, kind of
Yep.
in terms of her coaching style. Take what the defense gives you, and then kind of keep something in her back pocket. You
Yep.
know.
Yep.
So all right, we're running out of time here.
Uh,
It's been a great first episode. We wanted
Yep.
people to kind of get to understand who we are, and just to kind of throw in there part of the reason that, as we've been talking, you could tell that I love talking WNBA.
Yeah.
I love when my Minnesota Timberwolves, when they show up to the Lynx games, that like is a crossing of two worlds that makes me
Yeah.
so happy. Um,
Mm.
and it's really cool. But I refereed women. I played, coached basketball my whole life, and then I refereed as well, and had a chance to referee basketball for women's basketball for a solid 5 years. And I will be the first one to say that when I first started as a guy, I was like, man, I don't want to be out here refereeing women's basketball.
Yep.
And I was wrong, man. Like, the fact is like, especially at those young ages, there's so much focus on fundamentals that you kind of lose that in young boys basketball, AAU, because everybody's trying to be a showstopper.
Yep.
But with those women's youth basketball leagues, like, it's very much, get your chest pass, good crisp passes, get your hands up on defense. And it's a lot of the fundamentals that I came to appreciate the game of basketball so much more refereeing women's basketball, because it gave me a better insight on the fundamentals. And so that is kind of where my passion for watching women's basketball has developed from. And just kind of wanted to throw that out there, as this is,
Mhm.
our premiere episode. And,
Yep.
we're just kind of, hanging out. Hopefully, people want us back for another episode.
I'm hoping I like it.
I'm hoping. I love this.
Yeah.
But before we jumped off your Faith, I did kind of want to. We're up. Lynx are up 1-0 on the Liberty.
Yeah.
It's a best of 5 game series. It
Mhm.
sounds like next year they're gonna go into best of 7. I love
Oh,
that.
yeah.
I
Me
love
too.
that. So that being said, it's the quickest to 3 wins in this series that we got.
Oh.
Give me a shakedown of how you think. How many games is it going to go, and who wins?
Okay. So, from what I've experienced, I think it's gonna kind of be a back and forth thing. I feel like this game, it's gonna be Liberty. Next game, it's gonna be Lynx. Because when the Lynx went against the Kinetic Sun, or the Suns,
Yep.
it was back and forth. One win, the other one. One win, the other one did. It was definitely a tie, and I feel like it's gonna go this way as well. It's definitely gonna be a very, very tough game, because you got two best teams right now.
Yep.
And it's definitely gonna be a nail biter. I mean, look at the first game. That was First overtime. That seemed crazy since 2021. That was insane.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you telling me about a stat earlier? What
So
was that stat?
the Lynx, the comeback game that tied in the largest. So the Lynx 18-point comeback in Game 1 tied the largest in the WNBA postseason history.
For real?
Yep, the Liberty have held it since 1999.
How ironic is that?
Right? When I was like jumping out of my seat when I saw them win. I'm like, let's go. I texted my friend too. I'm like, hey, I was right.
So I want to say Teresa Weatherspoon. I'm looking that up right now. I want to say she was on that 1999 New York Liberty team. New York Liberty. Let's see here. The stats. Yep. Teresa Weatherspoon, Becky Hammond. Oh my goodness. If people don't know about Becky Hammond, she is an incredible coach right now. She was the coach of the Las Vegas Aces. She went to my wife's alma mater, Colorado State University, and she has been a coach in the NBA. She has gone further than any woman in NBA history as far as coaching. And now she's a back-to-back champion with the Aces.
Yeah.
Love Becky Hammond. Gotta throw out some love for her.
Let's praise her until I die. She is amazing. Her team is good too.
Yes.
If I wasn't born in Minnesota, like, because I'm always gonna love the Lynx, Aces are up there too. They're like my second team.
Yep. Yeah, they got some cool players. We had already talked about Asia Wilson. And then Kelsey Plum, she's just her ego is crazy. Like, she's funny. She is a funny person.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and then they're coached by Becky Hammond. But they had Rebecca Lobo, another WNBA Hall of Famer, Becky Hammond, Teresa Weatherspoon. That 1999 Liberty team was insane. So it's going to be back and forth. Before we go here, let me get your prediction. Who wins it all?
Lynx. I'm gonna say Lynx because this year. Yep, this year Lynx have had a major comeback. I feel like because their last win was in 2017, and I think since then they've definitely progressed in so many ways. And I feel like they're gonna take the cup. They're gonna take the champ. Yeah.
I love it. And obviously, we're both big Lynx fans, so sorry about it. All those New York Liberty fans out there, but guess what? You live in New York, you probably got another team that you can root for.
Yeah.
In Minnesota, as far as championship contenders, the Lynx are our only option and have been for 25 yeyears. The Vikings are off today, and so they've had a great season, but the Lynx
got it. They're coming.
We need the Lynx to bring us joy in that terrible snow-filled winter up in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Like, we just need this joy. Okay, folks. So this is all the time that we got today on our first premiere episode at Top of the Key with Sota and Faith. We are just so excited that you guys listened to us today. You did not have to do that, but we appreciate you doing so. And as far as social media goes, you can find me on @RyanYoungstrand Media for X and for Twitter. Faith, where can we find you at?
You can find me on Instagram at Faith Youngstrand.
Okay, and then spell that for us.
Faith is Faythe, and then Youngstrand is YOUNGSTRAND.
Yep, you got it. Sometimes you got to take that name is so long that you got to take them right halfway through. My new wife went from Rivera to Youngstrand, and she's just like, there's too many letters. But yes, that's where you can find us on our social media. If everybody's liking this stuff, we want to keep it going. We just love making content when it comes to basketball, and kind of let's see where this thing takes us. So, Faith, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.
Everybody who was out there who listened to us, thank you so much for tuning in to the Top of the Key. We're going to keep going with this content and try to make it better and better every single time that we get together. So, one love. Let's go Lynx.
Let's go Lynx. They're coming.
Let's go. They're coming.
Yep.
All right. So until next time, everybody take care of themselves. By the next time that we talk, hopefully the series is still going. and maybe we're in game 4 or 5 or something like that. So, uh, peace out to everybody. Thank you so much for your time, and we'll catch you on the flip side.